Hi, I'm Mike Vanoy, VP Marketing at Asure, and this is a super cool topic for me personally. There are, you're living under a rock if you hadn't heard of what ChatGPT was. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have joined today's conversation. It is so powerful. I personally love it as a marketing guy and running a team. We use it. I love it. It's a great productivity tool. Highly recommend people to start using it if you haven't yet, and to explore how it can make you and your organization more productive. We'll talk about that in this discussion. But there's some real risks. There are some unknowns, but there are some known risks and things you just can't do or should or shouldn't rely, data you should or shouldn't rely on when it comes to ChatGPT. And we really want to unpack that information, especially from something so important as HR compliance. Laws are black and white. Sometimes the interpretation, documentation, support of those laws is a little more gray. This certainly falls into that area, but the laws themselves are black and white, and you don't get to choose which ones you follow. So great guest. If you watch the show regularly, you know Brian Schinker. He's an attorney at the Long Island, New York office of Jackson Lewis. Brian's practice focuses on representing employees and employers in a wide range of workplace matters, as well as preventative advice and counseling. Brian has extensive experience defending class and collective action lawsuits under federal and state wage and hour laws. He has successfully defended wage and hour audits conducted by the U.S. and New York State Departments of Labor. And Brian regularly handles cases before courts and administrative agencies involving claims of discrimination, sexual harassment, and retaliation. Welcome, Brian.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, so maybe we'll just start out a little bit broad. My experience when I talk to people, almost no one hasn't heard of it. But even those who say, yeah, they know it, and I'll start asking, well, tell me about how you've used it. And it seems to be that a huge number of people have dabbled. Some people have kind of backed off. They go, oh yeah, you know what? It was really cool how it responded to me, but I ended up having to rewrite it, and that took more time than it would have saved. And so it's cool, but not for me. There's other people who have really, I'd say, kind of sort of perfected how to use it, and it has become a massive, massive productivity tool. But I guess maybe start from your perspective. We're going to talk all about HR today, but we got people listening to the show, watching the show, coming from all disciplines, all industries. What's your perspective in the practice of law? Where are law firms? Where are attorneys using? I think we're going to talk a lot about ChatGPT, but AI in general.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that it's one of those things that you don't want to be scared of. You want to say cautiously adopt its use. Now, in the legal profession, we have some requirements like attorney-client privilege that can drastically reduce or limit what we can do with a program like ChatGPT. Given that putting client information or privilege information in there can cause issues, because we'll address more broadly. But to the extent it's not protected, I mean, we can analyze data that public data that's out there that might be relevant to a case. It's very valuable in that, right? It can save dozens, if not hundreds of hours of labor in analyzing and I won't say just simple data. I think it's able to analyze more complex data as well that can take a long time. So I think that's one way. Look, in terms of sending a simple email or scheduling, things like that, it can be absolutely helpful with just as we'll discuss, understanding what it can and can't do, which to some extent is something you have to use it and learn what it can do and how it can refine answers. So there are lots of uses, and I don't think the legal industry has gotten to that point where we've figured out all the uses yet, or come to that point.
Yeah, and I can just say, give some examples. In sales and marketing, a lot of people are great salespeople, but they maybe struggle writing that email. Even hate to say, a lot of people struggle with basic spelling, grammar, and whatnot. Or maybe they're good, but they're slow. And so for basic communications, man, it's awesome. And if you haven't tried it, you should. So, put in a prompt, and we'll talk a lot about prompts. It's really how to use it in the instructions you give it. Think of a conversation happening. It's the questions you would ask in a conversation, as though you are interviewing ChatGPT as a person. And if you say, write me a thank you letter, follow up to our meeting, the things we talked about were A, B, and C, boom, within seconds, way faster than you could ever type, you're probably going to have a really great thank you letter. Now, will that letter understand the nuances of that person's business? Will they understand the body language that you shared during the call or that meeting? Or maybe the eye contact you had or didn't have during that meeting? Of course not, right? So, nor is it possible. But if you're a marketer and you want to write Google ad copy, you want to write, 168 or whatever characters for a tweet, you want a short blog post, you want an email communication, then man, great tool. I will for sure say, as a marketer, it still requires oversight. I've used it for things like press releases. I put in asked ChatGPT to create a press release about some upcoming trade shows we were participating in. I gave it the names of those trade shows and said this year, and it gave me back incorrect dates and locations. So understand that it is really fast at replicating kind of what humans can do, and humans can get locations and dates wrong too, right? It's still, if I wasn't, dare I say, the expert in knowing exactly what the topic was, what locations, what dates we were going to be exhibiting at these trade shows, I could have just hit the publish button and looked like an idiot, right? And so I think that's where I would guide folks. Use it to speed up and improve the work you do, but it has not replaced humans yet. It is not always 100% accurate, right? One of the areas that I want to explore with you, and I think I'll go there now just because we're going to focus more HR, but it maybe involves copyright. I know one of the areas of use is engineers, right? So you could, as an engineer, you could literally say, ChatGPT, give me the lines of code that allows a service to do this, and it'll spit back that code. So I don't have to code anymore. ChatGPT gives me the code. I mean, I can say personally, I was trying to do some sophisticated stuff recently in Excel. I was doing some VLOOKUp, had a combination of VLOOKUP and rounding rules, and a concept called jittering, where you're messing with data all in one big, really complex formula. I Googled it, spent 10 minutes trying to understand how to use this combination of formulas. I'm like, what the heck? I stuck it in ChatGPT, give me the formula that does this. And it gave me this big article that I didn't read because I could just see the formula. I just copy pasted the formula. Now, that formula is a formula from Excel. I have no copyright issues.